two quick questions.
Two questions.
One, did you ever watch the bloopers on the Negima?
Yes, it's really funny because people always say, "Did you see the bloopers on YouTube?" The bloopers actually appear on disc 6 if you bought the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are, unfortunately with Negi, there are a whole string of blooper reels that you'll never see. Specifically mine. That's a voice that's really hard for me to get into, and when I do get into it, it's very hard to jump in and out of voice. So everything from asking to go to the bathroom to cursing about the traffic on the way in is in Negi's voice usually. So they have just buckets and buckets of really horrible material that will never see the light of day. That being said, you could probably fill up an entire DVD with Chris Kayson's bloopers alone. Chris Kayson is reprising his role as Camo. But we also have two new critters in the show, and I won't give too much away about these guys, but we have Shichimi and Matsu, and they're very bizarre critters. I like them, but they don't, you'll be glad to know they don't steal any of Camo's thunder. Camo is still Camo. But yeah, the bloopers are very fun, and I wouldn't be shocked if we don't have a whole string of bloopers for this show too. I don't know whether they'll be an extra or whether they might be something online. I don't know. We never know what's gonna be added until right before the very end of production, as far as what bloopers are gonna come out. Yeah. I'll come back.
Okay.
You guys did such an amazing job with the BECK series.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, it's kind of off topic, but
I know you just left.
has there ever been like a more personal character for you than Koyuki? Because that really just seems
No, there actually hasn't. And I'll tell a really quick story and then get back to Negima. BECK is a really important story for me because it's based, my performance in that show is based on a very dear friend of mine. I met a little kid coming up through the anime community. I'm Vic Mignogna, and I met him at this little one-time only con in Chicago called KazeCon. He was a 12-year-old kid, big Dragon Ball Z fan, and we were at what we consider to be the worst convention in convention history. And this little kid didn't know the difference. In fact, I remember hearing him tell his grandmother on the way out, "This is the best convention I've ever been." You know, he was just stoked. Well, about the time he hit 13 or 14, he was bit by the rock and roll bug. And he just went from this sweet little innocent-looking kid to this scrawny, long-haired, dirty, mangly-haired, rock and roll-looking kid. And he decided he wanted to play the guitar, and everybody around him told him he couldn't do it. And right down to his family, and the only people that really believed him were his friends, his grandmother, and myself. And you know, everybody told him, "Look, you know, just give up, you're never gonna do that," especially all the adults in his life. And I was like, those are people that are bitter, that they can't do what they want to do. You believe in yourself and you'll do it. So up until the time that we worked on BECK, I have weird rules about being friends with kids. Obviously, I don't need to be best friends with a 12-year-old. Michael Jackson learned his lesson. But I stayed at close enough a distance, and I'm friends with the kid's grandmother. His grandmother is probably we call her Granime, because every year she takes 6 teenage boys to Anime Central and is the den mother for 6 dirty 16 to 17-year-old boys every year. And I told him, I said, "There's a show that I'm working on that I know you're gonna love. There's a show that I know will speak to you." And I actually kind of broke the rules and got to know this kid a little bit better, just to know what he was going through, because his MySpace profile read, and it's not a secret, the kid's name anymore, his name is Sam Biggs. He's like, "My name is Sam Biggs, and I love anime and my grandma. More than anything else, I love rock and roll." He's like, "I'm teaching myself how to play the guitar, and I wasn't born with a lot of natural talent, but I practice every GD day, and one day I'll be better than those people that were born with natural talent." Well, as we worked through BECK, I kind of used inspiration from this kid to come from a very real place. Those of you that haven't seen BECK, the acting in BECK is not like typical anime acting. And so as the show got closer and closer, I told him, "Hey, this is the show," etc., etc. Well, long story short, it was airing on television in Canada, And he's so funny, he goes, now I know how you believe about downloading things, but my friend lives in Canada and he's been sending me the videotapes of BECK. And I said, that's okay, dude. You know, there's people that pay for commercial time on that, and as long as you buy the discs and hear Justin Cook curse in new and interesting ways, I'm okay with that. And when he finally got to the end of the show, he called me almost in tears, and he's like, I don't think I'll ever love any show more than that. And I said, me either. And I said, and you know what? I was like, you're the whole reason this show was as good as it was for me, because I had something very real to base it on. Flip forward about 6 months later, or I guess about a year later, I'm involved with a project called Voices for Peace. It's a bunch of voice actors that do rock and roll albums and donate all the money to charity. Definitely check it out, it's voices4.com. They've been wanting me to do one of the songs from BECK at one of our live shows forever. And I wanted to sing Slip Out. It's my favorite song from the show. Yeah. And because the show wasn't out, and because we hadn't gotten to that point in the show, I could never sing it live. Well, we finally, you know, the show's already out on DVD, and I said, hey, you know, is there any way we could do Slip Out at Anime Central this year? Anime Central is the one show that I see this kid at every year. And they were like, yeah, you know, we don't know where we're going to get the guitar chords. And I was like, hey, my buddy Sam knows the... Hey, dude, do you mind if my friend gets on stage and plays guitar for us? So the really cool thing was, I got to bring this kid up on stage. He's a Chicago kid, so I got to bring him up on stage in his hometown. His grandma had never seen him play guitar live, and he totally tore it up for the audience. And I even introduced him to the audience as, you know, look, this is the kid that gave me all the inspiration for this role. So you can look him up. I think it's, if you look up my name and Slip Out, or my name and the word Sam, it's there. And he really rocked out. For a 17-year-old that taught himself how to play guitar, he made me really proud. So, yeah, I don't think, I told Johnny Young Bosch and I had a really interesting conversation when that show was over, and I said, you know, if there's one show that I wish could be my last show, it's this. You know, there's like, you know, it's one of those shows, it was like Sam 7 or Chrono Crusade, it was like, wow, this is it. This is a really great way to go out. Unfortunately, then I joined the Oran High School Homo Club. You know, I'm very happy being a prissy boy at high school. So, but yeah, thank you for asking about that show. It took up a year of my life. The thing that a lot of people don't know is it took longer to record that show than all of Alchemist and the movie. We spent over a year working on that show, so it was a labor of love. Now back to schoolgirls and young British school teachers. Yes.